For joining us for Do You Speak Tech, Google Classroom Ninja Training, which is part of our series for Do You Speak Tech, the pandemic edition. And you'll see the bit.ly there that's got some links to the previous presentations, and you can also get the presentation from today. And so I'm just going to put that into the chat just in case. And we've got 3 more coming up here. So next week we'll be talking about YouTube, and then the week after that is social media. And our last session, we're going to be talking about the new normal. So sort of focus on distance learning and video classes and things like that. So again, just looking at some effective uses of Google Classroom for languages. And this is what we're going to be looking at today. So our biggest section is going to be the getting organized and saving time. But we're going to look at how to really extend some learning and have some fun with Google Classroom. And I've also got, before we get started, a little playlist for you as well that I'll be giving you later, where we've got some tutorials for all the technologies that we'll be featuring today. So my name is Stephanie, and yeah, I love Google Classroom. I'm a former French as a second language, English language arts technologies teacher, mostly the secondary level, so junior high and high school. And I'm now work as a French program coordinator at ISLE, the Institute for Innovation in Second Language Education at Edmonton Public Schools. Please don't hesitate to email me if you have questions or an idea you'd like to share, anything at all. I'm love hearing from other teachers who are using technologies. So our first little activity, just to kind of get introduced here today, is how do you feel about Google Classroom so far? So you can use a number and just put that right into the chat. So yeah, I'm cool with it, very uninterested in that option. I don't know what that means. It's okay, or I'm obsessed. Or maybe you've got another David quote that you'd like to share with us that means a little more closely to how you feel about Google Classroom. I have to say I'm out of 5 myself. So as we're getting some responses in here, I want to say I was probably about a 4.5. Like, I thought Google Classroom was pretty cool, but I might be like a 6 now after going down the rabbit hole of YouTube videos of seeing what some of the teachers are doing with Google Classroom out there in the world. It's pretty neat. I'm seeing some pretty positive reactions here to Google Classroom. So this is a strategy you can use in your class. We've done this in the last couple of sessions with emojis, but this time I chose some GIFs, and it's just a neat little way to check in with your class and get some feedback on how they're feeling and things like that. And Dale gives a nice idea there, image play, to make GIFs for yourself for each of the emotions, which is really neat. And I got these from Giphy, but you can, there's a lot of different apps and extensions and things out there that'll help you with bringing a little more engagement to your lessons. So we're going to look at creating our first Google Classroom. Now, before we get started, again, so here is that link. I'm going to paste it into the chat as well, just in case. And as I was looking for some tutorials of some of the features and ideas that I wanted to show you today, I sort of went down the rabbit hole and found some really neat teachers that are doing some pretty cool things with Google Classroom. There's a couple here that I just really want to take a moment to specifically point out, and one of them is the channel Pocket Full of Primaries, this girl right here. And she's been doing some amazing ideas, and she's got some great inspiration. So Pocket Full of Primary, and the other one is this Teacher FYI. So I've gotten quite a few ideas from them tonight, and some of them, again, just sort of fell on their channel as I was looking for tutorials of things that I was going to show you tonight. And so I thought that was pretty cool. So as we go on, again, there's the link for the YouTube tutorials. And to get started with Google Classroom, you're going to go to Google Classroom and use the plus. So I'm actually going to show that to you here. And I'm just going to share my other screen. that I can bring that up. Now, because I am presenting to teachers who are from all different districts and around the world, I had to sign in with my personal account. And so I created this classroom. But imagine if I were to come here and I don't have any classrooms, we're going to start by going to the plus sign and very simply either join or create a class. So if you're going to, I'm actually going to have you join my classroom today, if you can, from your personal Google account. If I have even just 2 people in the classroom, it works a little bit better to sort of demo the things here today. And if you can't, then that's fine as well. And the code, I will get it here and I will paste it into the chat as well to maybe save you having to type that in. And so, oops, I pressed enter there instead of in the chat. There we go. And so it's just classroom.google.com. And to join my class, it's AOSEXZB. And so, yeah, my work account won't let people that are non-Edmonton Public Schools join. And then a lot of times you wouldn't be able to join with your work account. So when you're getting started with Google Classroom, if you really want to go in full, you're going to want to change everything to Google. So you want to change your Word docs to Google Documents. You want to have your PowerPoint presentations in Google Slides. And you can even change, if you have tests that are in Word documents, you can change those into Google Docs and then use the Doc to Form add-on that's linked there to change it into a Google form. In your settings in your Google Drive, you can actually make it so that it will, if it will get rid of this little window here, and you can see that it will let you choose a convert uploaded files to Google Docs editor format. And so as soon as you bring in a Word document or a PowerPoint, it'll change it to that document, to the Google Doc format or Google Slides automatically, which makes it a little bit easier. So the class homepage, I've got this image here for a reminder for you, but I'll just go ahead and bring up the classroom so that you can see. And so all I did when I created the join or create a class, and then you're going to put the name of the class. And of course, I'm not using this with students in the school, I'm using with adults today, so we're good. Your name, your section, your room, and that kind of thing. So that's all that I did to create this classroom. I did nothing else. And the rest that we're going to be looking at together today. So we have up here in the right, the main menu, the hamburger, that's where you're going to access all your other classes, including your archive classes. So, from last semester or last year, and we're going to be looking at this to review later on. Your stream, up at the top, you've got your classroom stream, and we're going to be talking about organizing that later, but this is sort of like your welcome homepage. So where you're going to communicate with your class. The classwork page is where you're going to put your resources and assignments for students and things like that. And then when we go to people, I have 2 people. So we're good to, assign things out in that. So you can see your students and teachers. So you can actually have more than 1 teacher in your classroom. That's not a problem. And then when you have some assignments and grades and things, you'll get a nice little chart here that will show you, what everyone's gotten on every assignment. So pretty neat. Okay, moving on. When we're looking at the settings, there's a few things. So the settings are right here in the top. So always, that gear, you've got your class name, and then you've got a little bit more information down here. So for example, you could send a link to your students, or you could post this link up on your learning management system or your class website. And that's a really easy way to get your kids to join, or very simply display the class code in person, or, when you're sharing your screen, like on a Google Meet or in a Zoom meeting like now, and have kids put in the link. I suggest doing this instead of emailing all of the kids. It's a lot easier just to get them to put in the codes themselves. Here we're going to talk a little bit later about some of these options, but you can have students post and comment on the streams. You can have them just comment, or only the teacher gets to touch that. And so you may sometimes want to toggle back and forth, like maybe if you've had some students kind of abuse that privilege, then you might want to turn off the student posting for a while. And classwork on the stream. So this means when you're posting an assignment in classwork, does it also get posted on that main page stream? And so how do you hide notifications? Means it's not posted there at all. You kind of get a condensed version, or where you see the whole classwork. And then grading calculation, I would just say maybe be very cautious about this, because you probably have a grading system that your school board has paid for that you'll be using. So that is how you get started with Google Classroom and, create your first class or get students to join your class. And so congratulations, you've got your white belt Ninja training. I don't even know if ninjas have belts, but I thought it was cute. So there you go. So next, this organizing. So when you're looking at getting this classroom, when you first start posting assignments and things on your page, it can get quite overwhelming very quickly. And so we're going to take a look at how, some strategies for optimizing that stream or that homepage, and then that classwork page. So some tips or some ideas is using the stream only for daily announcements or emerging updates. So where anything that's like a link or a resource or a lesson, student work, that's all going to go under classwork. And if you have something important to say, or for example, if you're on your Zoom chat and it gets stopped for some reason, you need to tell students, so go here or do this, then you would put that on the stream. So that's sort of where students know where they're going to go get that important information, is on that homepage. And then the classwork and anything that they're doing in class or that they need to access for work is going to go in the classwork tab. Now, in order to keep those separate, you are going to have to change some of those settings. And so that's where we're going to go in and change to, just a second. So that's where we go here and we change this to students can only comment, because we don't want students posting on the stream. We just want the teacher important notifications. And then we're going to hide the notifications from the classwork on the stream. So the classwork is all going to stay in that classwork tab. And so that's one way that you can kind of keep those a little bit separate, so that your stream doesn't get so full with not only announcements, but also everything you're posting in classwork. Okay, next, organizing your classwork. You can now add in Google Classroom topics. So when you're in your classroom stream here, under classwork, we're going to go create a topic. And at the top of my page, I'm going to want to have something like frequent links, or sort of that important resources, or the things that the students are going to be getting all of the time. And so I might add some material, like I might add the session presentation. Do you speak tech, Ninja, G Classroom, Ninja training, right? And then I'm going to add a document in there. I'm just going to go grab this link so that I have something to post. And, oh, that's the description, sorry. Oops. Add a link, oops, Control V to paste, and then there you go. Or I might have a textbook, an online version of a textbook that I want to link there, or something like that. And so I'm putting it in this classroom. If I have more than one class, then I can do that, and I'm going to post it. Oh, I forgot to. The whole point was to show the topic. And so again, when you make mistakes in Google, we just go here, and I'm going to go put it under frequent links. And so all that's going to do is, kind of tuck that under frequent links. Now I'm also going to create a topic for this week. And so this week is March 1st to 6th. (2021), and then maybe you can also put like a unit name or something like that if you want. And then all I'm going to do is take this and drag it down here. And then this is where I'm going to, maybe create an assignment that you guys are going to be working on. I'm going to give some instructions here or whatever it might be. And I'm actually just going to go right in and attach an activity. Okay. So there you go. Now I'm going to pick my topic. And since this is going under here, and we'll look at some of the other, options here. I'm just going to make this right now, make a copy for each student. So when I am assigning, an assignment for students, in this particular assignment, I not only have the instructions. So if I just wanted students to read instructions, I can go that they can view. If I'm doing, for example, in the last session, last week, we talked about doing memes. And so maybe I have one file or a slideshow I want all the students to edit, then I'm going to choose students can edit file. In this instance, I'm doing students make a copy for each, because not only does it have the instructions at the top of what the students are doing, but I've got a little something here that they're going to be filling in. And so I'm, each student, instead of having them make a copy, sharing it back and things like that, one of the beautiful things with Google Classroom is that I can just say, make a copy for each student, and it's going to do that all for me. And this is ungraded. It's just a little formative kind of thing here. And I'm going to put in my due date. Just put tomorrow. You can even put a time, but that's getting a little nitpicky. And I'm going to assign it. It's just going to take it a few seconds. So you can see I've got my frequent links. And then here I would put all of my work, all of my little lessons and slideshows that I'm going to be doing with my students, right? And so keeping those topics is really going to help keep things a little bit more organized in your classroom stream. So March 1st to 6th, my name is Cal, or whatever it may be. Now, within your topics, you also want to kind of keep organized and keep things, if you've got, especially elementary, maybe you've got multiple subjects going on in the same classroom, or maybe if you are seeing students multiple times a week and you've got, kind of your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday things planned out, or whatever that might be, you can do that by, when you're creating your assignments, I'm just going to edit it here. Simply putting in some kind of a little, Monday, give your name or your day of the week, kind of name what you're doing, and then there you go. Now I just need to go grab. The other idea is to have some color coding or some kind of visual icon, and you can do that by using some emojis. And so they're simple, just like colored dots if you wanted to use, and that makes it really easy. But let's imagine that on you're doing the lip sync battles and it's sort of listening to some songs. So I'm going to take this, and it's been copied. And so I can go back here and just paste that in. And not only am I giving the students kind of a visual cue, but when I've got 3 or 4 or 5 things under each topic or under each day of the week, then that's really just going to kind of, keep them organized. And then I can drag and drop things in between. So if I accidentally put it in the wrong topic, I can just move it. Or if I've created them all and I want them to be in order Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's just all drag and drop. So super, super simple from that point of view. And there's an emoji keyboard there, an example of one that you can use. So topics. Just one way that you can organize your topics is to have, first you've got your frequent links or your resources, whatever you want to call that. And then you've got your current week, so the week that we're actually working on. And then maybe you have a topic for extended learning. And we'll talk about that in the extend learning section a little bit later, what you could put, for example, in that topic. And then under that, just have all your past weeks. So as you're finished a week, you just drag that whole thing down underneath extended learning or underneath everything that you're actually working on. So that's just an easy kind of simple way to keep your your classroom organized is one way, but there's definitely more ways. Once you play around with it, you'll find what works best for you. So yeah, congratulations. You're now have a Google Classroom and hopefully can stay organized in your classroom. Orange bell. Okay. This is really where we're going to get our big bang for our buck, is our saving time. So I put in all of this time getting this Google Classroom. I've converted all of my documents. Like, so far, I'm not saving any time. Stephanie, you got to tell me, where am I working smarter instead of working more? Because so far this seems like more work. So some of the features in Google Classroom that we'll be discussing and looking at, or some of the features that can save you time, are, for example, being able to schedule posts in advance. So you may not want students to look ahead to next week of what you're going to be posting for them, but you can, when you're posting, schedule it to come out the day that you would like that to be available to them. You can also assign to multiple classes at once. So in my context, I used to teach 3 grade 7s, 3 grade 8s, and 3 grade 9s. So it was nice that once I got all those instructions ready, I was just click, click, click to assign it to all the classes it needed to go to. And then there's this reuse post sort of feature that we're going to talk about, how that you can use that to save you a lot of time, as well as co-teachers. So adding your guest teachers or your supply teachers as co-teachers in your Google Classroom is a great way to save them time and save you from having to put so many instructions in there, for that guest teacher, because most of that's going to be already given out instructions to the students on the Google Classroom. But we're going to talk about a couple more ways that you can use co-teachers to save yourself some time. There's also rubrics and comment banks in Google Classroom, pretty new feature that's pretty neat, and we'll look at that a little bit more in depth here in a few minutes. And then plagiarism and originality reports. So you can actually run, for 5 assignments per classroom, you can run an originality report, and it'll tell you if things have been plagiarized or not from that. I'll show you that. Excuse me, I'm talking so much. So scheduling posts in advance is pretty simple. When you're creating that assignment, you, instead of clicking on assign, you just click the little drop down arrow, and you can save that as a draft if you're not done. So if you get interrupted and you've got to go feed the kids before you can post that, you can just save that draft, or you can schedule it. So it'll just bring up a little calendar, and you choose the date and time that you want that assignment to then be posted. So when you have time, you make the posts and you schedule them to be posted when you'd like them to come out, and then you're not having to rush that day or Sunday night to get that post on for Monday. Another neat feature in Google Classroom is this reuse post. So when you click on the create in classwork to create an assignment or a quiz or material or whatever it is, you can click on reuse post. And what that does is it gives you brings up a menu where you can then choose a Google Classroom and choose something that you've created for a different assignment or a different materials post, or something that you've posted in a classroom elsewhere. And so that's a really neat way to save some time. You can use that so not just for year to year, like next semester or next year, where you've got the same assignment or the same project with kids. It can also use that as sort of a way to, you've got those routine activities, like maybe you've got a writing prompt where you always give the same instructions and you're just changing one sentence. Well, instead of typing that all out, reuse the post, and that's going to save you a lot. Oh, I'm so sorry. I hope they edited that out. Oh, I have tears in my eyes. I'm really sorry. I've got a frog in my throat from talking so much. So one last idea with this sharing or reusing posts is if you have a collaborative classroom. So for example, if you have some department teachers or some other teachers in a different school that teach the same thing as you, then have them, you know what? Thank you, Rochelle. I am just going to go grab a glass of water really quickly. I really apologize, but this is just going to be silly if I don't get a glass of water here. And hopefully the ERLC will edit this out so it's not saved forever. One moment. Alrighty, I'm back. That's much better. So collaborative teacher classrooms, we'll get back to this reusing post here. When you're adding, you can add, as we talked about, co-teachers. So some ideas of doing this is adding someone, maybe a grade level colleague or someone in a different school or even someone in a different country that maybe has some similar teaching assignment to you, or maybe just in your same district. Post lessons that you want to share, but post them as if you were posting to students. So just, include the instructions, make a copy for every student, whatever it may be. And then when everyone's sharing those, you could then go into your Google Classroom for the class that you actually teach. You can go reuse post and bring up that classroom from the other class and just kind of steal it from there. I'm going to actually just show you what that looks like quickly because it's a pretty simple thing. So I'm going to, for example, create an assignment. Actually, I'm going to show you that in a classroom that I created for that purpose. You'll notice, if you haven't ever noticed, that if you want to get to any Google products, it's always like the name of the product.google.com. So like if you want Google Drive, it's drive.google.com. So I had this digital publishing group. I had to teach a digital publishing class, and then there was a few teachers that were like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And so this is the older, but I'm just going to go right to reuse. And so here I can choose one of the, I can go back here. So I can choose from a different class. So for example, let's say I wanted to choose something from this leadership in languages, and then I wanted to use this post, and I'm going to say reuse. And what it's going to do is bring up this post, and then I can go in here and maybe just change one word if this was a reading prompt I was using all the time, or maybe I just wanted to change something that the teacher who had shared this said, or whatever it is. And so I can do that here. And so it's a pretty neat way to save some time instead of all of us always making the same presentations or always making the same posts, and even if you can save 2 minutes from not having to type out teacher instructions every time, that's a win in my book. Okay, the next section we're going to talk about is the to review section. Now this is really neat, and this is a way to help with your making sure that you have enough, or making sure that you're up to date with your marking. So you're just going to go into the little main menu, the hamburger there, and you go to review. And I can see here all the things that have been handed in, but I haven't marked them yet. These ones in the middle, they've been assigned. And so the student has been assigned it, but they haven't handed it in. So maybe they've started working on it, or maybe they open the doc and that's it. And then returned or marked. And so if I'm done returning them. And so once I get this, this column to 0, that's sort of our goal, is to get this handed in column to 0, because it means it's handed in, but it's not marked. And so I can just click right on this, click on to review, and that will take me, I'm going to go on this one. And then that will take me right here to where I can see all their assignments and things like that. And so that's a pretty neat way to make sure that you're staying on top of your marking without having to go open every single class and then go open that, go open that assignment and then, find the students and everything else. It's just all in one spot. So super easy. And then when you are, marking, there's some pretty neat features in Google Classroom that will make that easier. For example, the comment bank. And so this is the little GIF from Google Classroom that shows you how you can do this in your own assignments. So I'm just going to close this out. And I'm going to go to this assignment. And I'm just going to, open a random teacher or a random student document, for example. Now let's imagine that this was an assignment that the students were working on. And let's imagine that this was writing that they had done, or, maybe they filled in this table at the bottom. So it looks like the student didn't finish this yet, which is normal. So I'm going to right click and say comment, and I'm just going to say, please go back and ensure you complete all the sections. Okay, now I kind of feel like, so I'm going to go comments. I kind of feel like that's a comment that I would be using again and again with students. So what I'm going to do, I just have to zoom out because my screen is a little bit. If I go on these three little dots, then I can say add to comment bank. And so I can just add that comment right to my comment bank. Or when I'm marking the student, I can go down here to comment bank. And then here's where I got that GIF. And they will show you how to, for example, maybe I've got a Word document that's got a whole list of comments. I can just add multiple comments by starting a new line. So each comment on a different line. And then all of a sudden I've got, great job. Please go back and elaborate more. Whatever it may be. So I go add, and then see I've got all of these already. And so a pretty easy way to, kind of add your comments. And saving you a lot of time, even if you're a fast typer. Now there's two different ways that you can leave a comment for a student, or that you can leave feedback for them comments. So there's private comment, which is sort of like inside Google Classroom. So it's like it's sending them a private comment through Google Classroom to them. Or there's insert comment where you're like highlighting a specific part of their text or a specific part of their slide or something like that. So an idea to kind of keep those separate is to use the private comment for when you're giving overall feedback about the whole assignment. Like, maybe they're completed and you've marked it, you want to give them a little feedback, or maybe you want to say like, oh, you need to go back and check the specific comments to improve your work before I mark this. And then use that insert comment. So when you're highlighting a specific piece of text or a specific piece of the student doc, to really, get at that more, targeted feedback, like, can you elaborate more of this, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing is, when I am in this document, and if I right click, and so this is the insert comment, right click, or you can also go to insert comment. And let's say if I start typing in elaborate, it'll bring up my comment bank underneath. So you can use hashtags, or you can just like have kind of a keyword in there, and then there you go. It's going to add that in. So this is where I'm going to have those. And then up here is where I'm going to say, please go back and see my specific comments to make edits or whatever. And so there you go. If the student work is a slideshow, you're going to want to teach the students how to look for the slides that have comments. So when you're on a slideshow, like if I actually add, like if I added a comment here, you can see here that it comes up with that little, indicator there. So you're just going to have to teach students to look for the slides that you left comments on for them to go look. Okay. So next, rubrics. So you can import a Google Sheet, and there's a link to a tutorial that's also in that tutorial playlist. And then this is the link to the spreadsheet template. But I find it probably a little bit easier just to use the create rubric. I also suggest using common rubrics and common co-created. So maybe, create those rubrics with your students so that, there's consistency in the expectations. They know that when you're doing a written activity, you're always looking for like communication of ideas and this and that. When you're doing an oral interaction, you're always looking for a greeting. You're always looking for, whatever specific things that you're looking for. And then it's also, a little more efficient. So you're not creating a new rubric for every single assignment. So let's just take a look here at the how to create rubrics. So if I am in my assignment right here, I'm going to go back to instructions and I can edit this. So this is, I can do this afterwards, or I can do this as I'm creating the assignment, right? And so I'm going to go here to rubric. I can reuse a rubric. So this, the first time we're creating it, but hopefully getting to reuse rubrics pretty soon. And so the criterion title, it might be like written ideas. Shares, I can't even spell written for written ideas. Isn't that kind of, so shares interesting and logical information, whatever. You can have 1 point, and then I can, call this excellent. If I actually want to make it a rubric instead of just a rating scale, I can give a description. And then this is going to be, maybe 2 points, and then 3 points. So that would not be excellent if it was 1. It would be, low or, limited. And all the way up to excellent. And 3. And just be. If I put good on a rubric, they're going to take away my teaching certificate. So there we go. So then when I go back and open up my student work, so right here, and I just have to refresh it. And here we go. So I've got my written ideas. I can expand this so I can actually see the criterion. I could just click, or I could put the number in. So I'm going to say that she's doing an excellent job, and then it's going to add it all up for me and do that. Can you reshare the make a copy for students? I'm not sure if I understand the question. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit more for me, please? I'm just gonna.
So when you repost from, like, say semester 1 into your new class, am I able to have the feature, like, say it's a poetry assignment and I'm reposting it. Can I still make copies at that time? Okay.
Yeah, so when you made it the first time and you said make a copy for each student, it'll post it like that for your, like when you reuse the post.
Oh,
and then maybe you decided like, no, I don't want them to make a copy. I just want them to look. You could change it then.
Okay.
I have noticed if you make something like students can view, that you can't go back and say, change that to make it a copy for each student. So if you want something to be make a copy for each student, like you have to do that right from the beginning, like before you save the assignment. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So if, like, say if in my first semester it was a material, or it was something that I just made them a view. So then when I repost it, I can repost it as a make a copy then, right?
Yeah.
Or does it have to have been a make copy in the first post?
No, I think you can still, you can change. It's just once you go reuse post, if you save it as students can view, like when you're reusing it, then you got to start again.
Right. Yeah. And my other question was, like, I found, like, say last March when we started online, like I made other staff or teachers my my co-teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and then vice versa.
Yeah.
But then I realized I could go right into their Google Drive.
Anything that they had shared into that classroom. Yeah.
But is there a setting that maybe I didn't put on mine? Because I could actually go right into all of her whole Google Drive. And she could go into like, you know, I don't mind her going in or them going into my folder of what I've shared.
Yeah, for the
I
classroom.
found it a little bit interesting that like I felt kind of they could see everything in my Google Drive. Is that?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that and see. I'll have to look into that. I'll have to test that out and see.
Okay. Maybe I'm just thinking that it was just the shared documents, but
I'll have to check. Yeah, I'll check that out.
Thank you.
No problem. The other thing I wanted to say with regards to saving time with so once I've marked that student, normally you would think, oh, I'm now going to go and like return this work, but I'm actually not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to mark Joe's, and he did an excellent job. I'm actually not going to return it. I'm going to go forward to the next student by clicking this arrow. And then I'm going to mark this student. I'm going to do 3 or 4 of those before I go to return. And then I'm going to click the little arrow and I'm going to choose return multiple submissions. Anyone that I had already done would be checked here, or I could check them here for all of them. When you return a student, it takes it like 4 seconds. When you're returning 5 students at once, it takes it like 6 seconds. So, I mean, it's seconds, but it'll save you quite a bit of time. And especially when you're kind of on a roll and like stopping for 5 seconds every time, you know, it'll save you a little bit of time. Every second counts when you're a teacher, right? So yeah, return multiple submissions together. And then the last thing I wanted to talk to you about on saving time is originality reports. So sometimes we need to make sure that students didn't copy the information from somewhere else. And you can do that when you're creating the assignment under rubric. There's a check plagiarism box, and you just check that. And you're allowed to do that for 5 assignments per class. So keep it for, you know, those assignments that you think that students really would maybe, you know, go and get sections from the internet. And it'll bring up an originality report where you can go through and make sure that anything that was cited from somewhere else was actually cited. And so it saves you quite a bit of time. Congratulations, you've now got a blue belt in Google Classroom. Okay, now we're going to get into some fun stuff. So that was sort of the basics, and now we're really looking into this, going a little bit further. So with Google Classroom, when you're assigning work, you don't have to assign things to the entire class. You can choose to assign just to some students. So in that assign button, again, if I click the little button or the little arrow, it gives me a little drop-down menu where I can choose all assignments, or I can just click whichever students I think need to get that assignment. So you can do that, for example, you have differentiated assignments. So maybe you have modified expectations for some students who are English language learners in your Spanish classroom, or maybe you've got different expectations or a different assignment for the former French immersion student in your junior high French classroom. And so you're gonna give those different assignments and assign them to the people who need them. So they're not getting assigned work that isn't meant for them. If you're assigning group work, so if you have, for example, a slideshow that students are going to be working on, and you call it slideshow group 1, and then those kids will work, assign that slideshow to the 4 people that are in group 1, and then you assign slideshow 2 to the group 2 to the people in group 2, and things like that. Exemplar creation. So this last one is sort of a advice for, I don't know about in your context, but here in Alberta, when you're teaching French second language, you often have like kindergarten to university level French in the same class. So you might have a student who's brand new to Canada and so doesn't speak English or French. And you might have a student who is from a French speaking country and that's his first language. And then you've got every level in between. And so for those students who are maybe former French immersion, or maybe their first language is the language that you're teaching in your class, or they're just got really advanced language proficiency, you can assign them work like creating exemplars. So when you have a project, they're going to create the exemplar that the other students are going to be looking at to help them. giving them research project, finding you cultural videos or, music videos, giving them different reading and listening to do, and that just to make sure that they're engaged and doing some work in class. We talked earlier when we talked about topics about having like an extended learning topic. So some things that you could put in there: YouTube playlists, some songs, shows, funny videos, cooking videos, those kinds of things. Concerts are a great one. Spotify playlists, celebrity social media accounts, current events blogs. Maybe you've got maybe a new movie in the target language came out on Netflix that you're really excited about. You could put the link there to the description or whatever, and just sort of give students that opportunity to explore the language outside the time of the class, and give them something to extend that learning. Here are some extensions that really help you with, taking the learning further in Google Classroom. So I'm just going to kind of mention them, and then if you think that it sounds interesting, then go check out the YouTube tutorial or the intro tutorial on the playlist that's shared in this presentation and see if it's right for you. So Fluency Tutor is an app that allows students to record themselves reading out loud for the teacher. So you could see how that would be really helpful in class. Read and write for Google Chrome. So you've got like text to speech, speech to text, word prediction, glossaries, visual dictionaries, and all kinds of things, tons of languages. They're great. Insert Learning is one that I thought was a pretty neat extension. And what it does is you can turn any web page into like an interactive lesson. So you can insert questions or links or notes or things like that, and just make that web page a lesson. And all of these connect with Google Classroom. So these are extensions that connect with Google Classroom. Cami for Google Chrome. So if you really love marking by hand and, typing out the comments and that's just not doing it for you, or maybe the kind of assignments you're doing, you'd like to be able to circle and draw on something the students are, sharing with you, Cami for Google Chrome is going to allow you to do that. And then these last two, Mote and Kaizena, are for adding voice feedback. So instead of written comments, maybe you're going to add some voice comments. So again, when you're doing teaching the second language, that can be super, super helpful. And then these are all the apps that connect with Google Classroom. So these are the apps that if you, for example, make an Edpuzzle. So if you make a YouTube video quiz, Edpuzzle is an app that will take a YouTube video and you can insert, questions into it. It makes it interactive. You can then assign it from Edpuzzle onto your Google Classroom. Same with Padlet and Flipgrid. And so all of these are, some apps and websites that connect with Google Classroom. KidBlog is, sort of a lockdown way for kids to blog without it, going out everywhere in the world. Lucid Press for online publishing, and yeah, so just some apps that connect directly to Google Classroom. And you'll see in the notes section in this slideshow, if you're wanting some more ideas, there's actually a link to Shake Up Learning, and she's got an article there with 70 plus apps that connect to Google Classroom. So these are some of the ones that I found were more, for a language classroom, but there's tons of options. Look at that, red belts already. We've got about 5 minutes to get you your black belt by having a little fun in Google Classroom. And it really is the little things that can make a huge difference. I know it's cliche, but when you're working with kids and when you're working with adolescents, the little things that you can do to really engage them and make it kind of fun can just make a world of difference. This is a banner that I made in exactly 1.5 minutes on Canva. So Canva is a website where you can make your own designs, and they've got a lot of free ones. You can also, it's a freemium, so it's like free, and then if you get the pro version, or if there's ones, certain logos or images that you'd like that are more than, the free ones, then you can just pay them for one at a time. Now, if you want to create a custom banner for your Google Classroom, so what I'm talking about is when I am on my stream, this banner right here. So this was just one that came up, randomly. But let's imagine that I wanted to do something a little more, I don't know, a little more interesting. Well, I'm going to go to Canva or Google Slides, and I'm going to create a custom slide. So you can custom size, and it's going to be 1000 by 250 pixels. So that's the Google Classroom size. And this is literally how I made the one earlier today to show you as an example. Is I just put in this, and then on the left, it just had a bunch of free ones that you could use. And so I just went down here and I was like, oh, that one looks good. And so I took one. Oh, look, bienvenue. Oh, we already chose one. Okay, good enough. And then what's cool is I can go animate, and I can actually make this a little GIF. So let's just, oh, that one, see, that's a premium one. It had the little thing. I'm all about the free. So let's just get a nice free one. There we go. And then I'm going to go up here to share. And when I logged in an hour ago, it was in English, and now my thing is in French. Story of my life. And I'm going to go to download, and I'm going to download this as a GIF, and that's it. Done. And then I'm going to go to my Google Classroom, and I actually had this downloaded earlier. So I'm just going to, the other one, the Let's Get Learning. My computer is super slow. And I'm just going to go into my downloads and choose that image. So you could do this not only just to have like a nice personal image on your Google Classroom, but I think it could also be a nice way to, oh, sorry, this was saving the new one. Whatever. I thought I was uploading and I was saving. There we go. So I'm going to go choose that banner. And you could also do it for seasons, if you kind of get a, change it with the seasons, or if you've got some, that's just my computer being super slow. But yeah, normally you can upload this in. Student's birthday, maybe you've got like a happy birthday so-and-so for, that you want to put on there. That would be, kind of neat. And there we go. Just takes it a second to open up. I'm just going to size this. And then that becomes my new banner. And it's even animated, which is kind of neat. It's a little bit, just kind of engaging and stuff. Kids like that. So embellish your assignments, add some humor. And so the emojis, there's the keyboard extension there, or with some GIFs. So like we did on that first slide. And I mean, Napoleon Dynamite, when is he not a good idea, right? Now, Bitmoji. So that's a neat little extension. And so randomly, my Bitmoji on my computer is in French, and I don't know how to change the language. So that's how I found out it's available in different languages. Just don't ask me how to change the language. But on my phone, it's in English. So when I want an English Bitmoji, I just insert it from my phone. And when I want a French one, I insert it from my computer. So it's actually worked out pretty great for me. But there's the link here to install the Chrome extension, and you're going to customize your Bitmoji, and add that as just to have some fun with your students. Bitmoji Classroom. This is all the rave since the pandemic. It's a thing that you do in Google Slides, and it's kind of like a window, like it looks like a classroom, and you're going to insert images. When you're searching for the images, you're going to try and get PNGs, because that means they have a transparent background. And then you're going to link activities onto those images. And so since this is our last, this is going to be our last little thing of the night. So if you can open up the slideshow, I've actually got a classroom here that I got from a teacher online, and the link is in the notes. And I just added some different stuff. So I took out, I can't remember what was here, but I put in books. I made the shelf longer, and I had coffee because I need coffee. I put in my own Bitmoji. And you just kind of go around and see what things could be. And some things are links. And so you would, for example, open this, and the kids would go and they would listen to this song. Or they might listen to this. Cat has a little audio message. And if they go on the right? They go to the window. I think it was window swap. I changed it to. So I took this lady has this slide, and you make a copy of the slide. The only thing I want to mention is that they're from a Catholic school, and so some of the things had some religious things on, like there's a cross on the wall and stuff. And so in my public school, I would have to take that out. But there's some neat little activities here that she's added, and then it took me about half an hour to kind of change a lot of the links. Some of them I kept, some of them I changed. I added some different objects and just kind of, made it a little bit fun. And so you could use this to have kind of like a beginning of the year intro to you, and you could have all the artifacts linking to things that you really like, or to give them an idea of what the class is going to look like. You could use this as like a unit intro. So maybe instead of a Bitmoji classroom, maybe it's a Bitmoji gym or whatever you're teaching at that time. Or maybe that's something that you have up as your extended learning is, go to the Bitmoji classroom and click on these fun activities that you can do. Or how about having students make their own like Bitmoji bedroom, or making their own like little happy place, and they've got to link things. And I thought that would be a neat little activity for kids to do. So yeah, go ahead and that's your black belt right there. If you do all of this and get the Bitmoji classroom, you'll be a Google Classroom boss. Again, I'm sure you're getting sick of me plugging Slides Carnival, but they do have beautiful slides, and so I thank them for this slide